What is up, guys? So this is our basic ally tier list for Marvel Champions. So before we begin, I just want to go over the criteria again. So if an ally is like a Guardian ally and they're trait locked and says you must be Guardian in order to play them, we won't be holding that against them. So we'll just be assuming that we're playing a Guardian hero if we're using a Guardian ally like that. And then for the tier rankings here, we have S tier. These are for allies that are auto includes. A tier are for allies that I really want to include whenever I'm playing whatever deck that I need with them. B tier are for allies that if there's an empty roster spot, they can easily fill that spot and I won't mind. C tier are for allies that need to be, they're very situational and they need to be kind of deck build around or catered to really maximize their full potential. And D tier are for allies that I don't think are very, very good at all and that they're usually better allies that do their roles a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get started here. And we're going to start off with Agent 13. She is a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 4 hit points. As a response, after Agent 13 attacks or thwarts, choose a shield support and ready that support. So if we're playing her, we're going to be assuming that we're playing her in a shield archetype deck. And for a shield archetype deck, Agent 13 has an amazing effect, being able to ready up a shield support every single turn, right? So that will include the helicarrier. So you can exhaust helicarrier to reduce the next card you play by 1 cost, and then she can ready it back up, and then you can use the helicarrier again, and it can actually stack up to reduce whatever card you play, reduce that cost by 2. So Agent 13 is an amazing card. The 2 thwart is very, very nice. She takes one consequential damage, so she can activate 4 times. The Feud Agent is a great card to use with her, and then all of the cards in Shield archetype revolve around exhausting other Shield cards to get their full benefit. So Agent 13, which readies them back up, is so synergistic and works so well with that archetype. So she's going to be going straight in the A tier here for us. Just a very solid ally that I'm always trying to include if I'm playing Shield. Okay, so next we have Angel. He's a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Reduce the cost to play Angel by 1 if your identity has a mutant or X-Men trait. So we're just going to be assuming that we're playing mutants or X-Men if we're using Angel. And if you are, he's pretty much going to be a 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points, which is insane. Just having 3 hit points at the 2 cost is already really, really good. 1 thwart and 1 attack would already be sufficient, but the fact that he has 2 attack, that makes him an amazing ally. So he's going to go also in the A tier. I don't think he's as good as Agent 13, right? If I'm playing X-Men or Mutant, I'm always trying to include an Angel, but Agent 13 just has a very powerful effect, and she's kind of more of a core card for Shield than Angel is a core card for Mutants. He's not necessarily a core card, but he's just a great, super cheap ally with amazing stats. And can activate 3 times at just 2 costs, which is awesome. Okay, so next we have Atlas Bear. This is a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Action, exhaust Atlas Bear. Look at the top card of a player deck. If that card is an event, you may deal 1 damage to Atlas Bear and add that card to its owner's hand. So Atlas Bear, I think Atlas Bear is pretty situational, knowing if it's going to be best in decks where if you know what the top card of your deck is. So Domino is going to probably, I mean, he came with Domino. So Domino is going to work really well with Atlas Bear. I think in other decks, it's not going to be as useful. I'm going to put, I think I'm going to put Atlas Bear in the C tier. So this is a situational ally at best. And I just don't think its full potential is going to be unlocked unless you have the specific conditions for it, which is, knowing the top card of the deck. If you don't know the top card of your deck and you're just randomly using Atlas Bear's effect, it's probably just taking damage. It gets exhausted, can't use activation, and then you probably don't get anything to your hand if you're unlucky. So I think that you need to build around Atlas Bear. Okay, so our next ally here, we have Blade. He's a 1-cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points, and note that he does not take consequential damage for thwarting or attacking. But as a forced response after Blade thwarts or attacks, choose to either spend a physical resource from your hand or discard Blade. So you have to basically discard a resource from your hand, and it must be a physical resource. So that's a lot more rough than just spending a physical resource, right? If you can use a cooling card to generate it, that would be great, but we can't. Or just discarding one random card from your hand, that would be a little bit better as well. But the fact you have to choose a physical resource, that is a little bit rough. But the fact that he's one cost, so he can come out and just chump block with 3 hit points, or he can just come out and then do a basic attack or a thwart and then just die if you really, really desperately need it. That's not terrible, and he is a very good ally. So I'm actually going to put him here in B tier, right? If you have an empty spot for him, he is more than welcome to fit in, just being a one-cost ally and, you know, situational at best, and you're going to need resources for him. But yeah, and especially if you spend just one physical resource, making him a 2-cost card for 1 attack or thwart activation, he definitely won't be bad at all, right? 2 costs to attack or thwart and then chump block is great. The thing is that it has to be a physical resource, so we just have to keep that in mind whenever you're building him. But yeah, he's definitely a very good ally that can include that can fill in any empty roster in any deck. Okay, so next we have Cannonball. He is a 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 hit points. Interrupt: when Cannonball would take any amount of consequential damage, reduce that amount of damage by X, where X is the number of aerial cards in your hand. So if we're playing him, we're going to be assuming that we're playing an aerial deck. Being 3 costs, it's pretty rough. He's a good Voltron candidate, and I've seen some gameplay of him as a Voltron candidate, where you constantly have aerial cards in your hand, so he's not taking any consequential damage for his activations. Having 2 thwart, 2 attack is great. The hit points are a little bit low, and the cost is a little bit high. I think that even assuming that, you know, you're playing him in an aerial deck, he's going to be situational at best. He has to activate before you play any of your cards, so I'm going to put him here actually in the C tier. I don't think, even in an aerial deck, he's not like a must include or anything like that. You have to really build around him and plan on Voltroning him. So is he better than Atlas Bear? I do not. I'm actually not very big on Cannonball. I think there's definitely situations where he can be super good, where he can be like an A tier ally, but to meet those conditions are going to be pretty difficult, especially against the higher difficulties. I think that it's just going to come very, very rare where he's like an amazing ally to have. But he's not bad by any means. He just needs the perfect situation to be very good. Okay, next we have Colossus. 4-cost ally, 1 thwart, 3 attack, but takes 2 consequential damage for attack activations. He has 3 hit points. Reduce the cost to play Colossus by 1 if your identity has the mutant or X-Men trait. So he's the same effect as Angel over here, except instead of being a 3-cost that gets reduced to 2, he's a 4-cost that gets reduced to 3. So assume that we're playing him with mutant or X-Men. He does come with toughness. At 3 costs, 1 thwart, 3 attack, 3 hit points, and toughness. I mean, that's a very, very clean and good stat line. So he's definitely going to go into B tier here for me. So if I'm playing X-Men and there's an empty spot on the roster, I think Colossus is a fine addition. He's not as good as Angel, just because Angel is 2 cost. Like that is, you can play a lot of cards in your hand, or you can generally play at least 1 other card in your hand. If you play Angel, if you play Colossus for 3, you may not be left with anything else, even though they have very similar effects, and Colossus does have that toughness. I just think having a 2 cost with this stat line is more powerful than being 3 cost with this stat line. At the same time, that tough can be very valuable, but if you want to take a block with the tough whenever you first play Colossus, then it's a little bit of a hit to tempo, so it makes him a little bit slower to play. So I do like Blade more for that reason as well. Okay, so next we have Cosmo. 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points. Interrupt: when Cosmo attacks or thwarts, name a card type, then it's the top card of a deck. So I think they errated this. It has to be either the encounter deck or the player deck. If that card is of the name type, Cosmo does not take consequential damage, the damage under thwart or attack for this use. So Cosmo, if you're playing Cosmo in an archetype or with a hero like Domino, where you're determining what the top card of your deck is, she can be a lot more powerful. But at the same time, it's just not taking consequential damage. It's not that big of a deal. I think most of the time, and I want to note this is just an interrupt, not a forced interrupt, so you don't have to trigger if you don't want to. But yeah, most of the time, I mean, she can just come out for 2 costs, attack or thwart for 1, and take a chump block. So, I mean, just being a 2 cost, she's already just going to go in the B tier here. and I'll put her last in a B tier because I think that her effect is very situational. And if you're doing the player deck or encounter deck, you may discard a card that you actually want, right? Like a weaker encounter card or a really good key card in your player deck, unless you are manipulating the decks. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much, she's almost just coming in with a blank text box almost and just taking that chump block. But being 2 cost means that if I have empty roster spot, she's more than welcome. She's only 2 cost, so that's great. Okay, next we have Deadpool. 2 Thor, 2 attack, 3 hit points, and 3 costs. So this is an amazing stat line for 3 cost ally. With this Force Interrupt, when Deadpool would be defeated by consequential damage, heal 3 damage from him instead. Then add an acceleration token to the main scheme. So very similar to the Deadpool hero. And this is a Force Interrupt, so you must trigger it every single time Deadpool is defeated by consequential damage. So this actually is not that bad at all. If you do want to Voltron him, he will never die taking consequential damage, and he can still chump block for you and get defeated, right? So you can still play him for 3, have him activate twice and then chump block, or have him activate once, and then if you need that block, he'll be there. So even though it's a Force Interrupt and you must trigger it whenever he is defeated by consequential damage, that's not a very bad effect at all. I think he's a pretty good ally. I'll put him here actually in the B tier. I'm not itching to include him every chance that I get, but he can definitely fill in an empty roster spot. And I actually like Blade more, because Blade just being that 1 cost, just so versatile with his ability. Like, you don't have to do anything with him if you don't want to, and if you only have 2 cards left in your hand, you can just play Blade. So I think Blade is a little bit better as that fill for empty roster than Deadpool is, but Deadpool is a great addition as well, and I like him more than Colossus just because his stats are a little bit easier to mess around with. He can ideally get more activations too if you take the acceleration token, if you're ready for the acceleration token, but if you don't want it, then he can just chump block. So yeah, I do like Deadpool, and I like his 2 Thor, 2 attack. Okay, so next we have Deathlok. This is a 4 cost ally, so pretty expensive. 2 Thor, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Hero response: after Deathlok enters play, choose an upgrade in any player's discard pile with the cost of 1 or less that can be attached to Deathlok. Attach that upgrade to Deathlok. So when he comes in play, you have to make sure you're in hero form because it's a hero response, so you can't do that in Alter Ego. You can choose any upgrade in any player's discard pile, and most upgrades are 1 or less cost for ally attachments. So he'll just come in for 4 cost, but then you get an upgrade on him. So I think having that free upgrade mitigates his 4 costs, so it makes his stat line fair. He is a pretty decent ally. He's a good candidate for Voltroning as well. I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's very close to Deadpool for me. I know they both came with Cable in Next Evolution. I'm going to put Deadpool in front just because he's a little bit cheaper. And then just being able to never die by consequential damage, I think is pretty useful and versatile, because if you do want him to block. Versus for Deathlok, if you do activate twice and have him block, it's kind of a waste because you did put that upgrade on him with the 4 cost. So yeah, I do think Deadpool is a little bit better, but they're very, very close for me. Okay, so next we have Drax. He's a 3 cost ally, 1 Thor, 3 attack. So very, very high attack. 4 hit points. Just a very, very good stat line. 4 hit points is insane for 3 costs, and having 3 attack is great with 1 consequential damage. Play only if your identity has a Guardian trait. We're going to be assumed that we're playing with Guardians here. And then Drax cannot attack minions. So he's great for hitting the villain. He's not going to help you out with minions, which actually hurts him a lot. I don't think he's C tier level where he's super situational, because he still has that great stat line of 4. He can still Thor for a lot, even though Thor is a little bit lower. But being able to swing for 3 on a minion, especially late game, is going to be super valuable. So he's going to go in the B tier here. And I'm going to put him... above Cosmo, right? Because Colossus can swing 3 times with his 3 attack. He's 3 cost effectively, right, with the reduced cost. Drax is 3 as well. Yeah, I think Colossus is a little bit more versatile, but they both are very, very similar. Just Colossus, he could take a block first. Drax gets more activations, but if you're just attacking a villain 4 times, I mean, Drax can do 12 damage, so that's pretty good. It's just that he can't help you out with minion clearing especially early game and mid game, which will kind of hurt. But I mean, at the same time, he can still just throw it, and having that beefy 4 hit points is very, very good. Okay, so next we have 5 cost ally, super expensive. Dum Dum Dugan. He's a 3 Thor, 3 attack. He takes 3 consequence damage for thwarting and 2 for attacking, which is pretty insane. He has 5 hit points though, so he has a lot of hit points to take that consequential damage. As an interrupt, whenever you use one of Dum Dum Dugan's basic powers, exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control. For each shield card exhausted this way, Dum Dum Dugan gets +1 to that power for this use. So if you have like let's say Helicarrier, 2 other shield cards, you exhaust all 3, then Dum Dugan can thwart for 6 or attack for 6. So I've definitely used him more enough times, swinging or thwarting for 6 to be super duper clutch. But he's really only useful after you get the entire shoot engine set up, and he doesn't help you while you're setting up, right? In the beginning of the game, he's pretty much a dead card. His cost is not that bad in the shield archetype just because of Helicarrier, and you have all your shield cards that can help reduce your costs. Like Agent 13 can make the Helicarrier activate twice. You have the, I think it's called the Government Liaison to also reduce a shield card when you're playing it. So he's not terrible. He's either going to be C tier or B tier at the end of the B tier. I think when I'm playing Shield, Dum Dum Dugan is definitely a card that can fill in an empty roster spot, right? And a lot of times he can help give me that big burst that I need. So I don't think he's super bad. When you're playing him with Shield, do I actually like him a lot more here? I'm actually gonna, yeah, because I was actually say whenever I play Shield, and granted, there are less cards that synergize with the Shield archetype. But I think when I'm playing Shield, I like Dum Dum Dugan a lot more than if I'm playing Mutants or X-Men, and then I like Colossus, or if I'm playing Guardians and I like Drax. So I actually like, yeah, I think for his archetype, I think Dum Dugan, just my feeling on him is that I prefer him more than these guys for their respective archetypes. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna put him here. I don't think he's as good as Deathlok or these guys up here, but he can definitely fill in an empty roster spot. Okay, so next we have Forge. 2 cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points. As a response, after Forge enters play, search your deck and discard pile for an X-Men or X-Force support and add it to your hand. So this is a super duper good card, right? It's almost, I mean, there's going to be times where this guy is like better than Maria Hill, right? If you're playing solo and you're just playing him and you want that specific X-Men or X-Force support and you want to draw it to your hand, right? You can call for backup to him because it's whenever he enters play. So if you want an X-Men or X-Force support, you see Forge in your discard pile, you can play a call for backup, get him, and then get that X-Men support and then play it. So he has a very, very good effect. I don't think he's as good as Maria Hill, just being able to draw. And late game, if you have all your supports out, he's definitely not as good. But being so cheap and being able to get that, he's going to go first in the A tier here. I think he is, if I'm playing mutants, so with X-Men or X-Force, I mean, he is a guy that I am always trying to get in my deck. Just helping you get that X-Force or X-Men support. Yeah, super duper valuable guy. Only being 2 cost. I mean, his stats are like, regular for a 2 cost ally, but yeah, I mean, he's very, very good, helping you tutor that support that you need, especially early game. Okay, so next we have Gamora. She's a 3 cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Play only if your identity has a guardian trait, so we're assuming we're playing her with guardians. And a hero response, so you must be in hero form when you're doing this. After Gamora attacks or thwarts, discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard an event, then add that event to your hand. So Gamora helps a lot. So I'm usually not the biggest fan of milling, but I think Gamora's milling is a little bit different because getting an event helps so much late game when you're trying to burst the villain down, right? Like if you're playing Star-Lord, you really just want either a daring escape or you want your sliding shot. And even if you're playing any other hero, right, she'll help mill you down for that event that you need to try to win the game. And with her effect here, I know she's great with Adam Warlock as well because he always works around milling the deck. So if you have anything in the archetype like Dig Deep and stuff like that that helps that where milling the deck is good for you, she's very, very valuable. But it was just that it would be a little bit situational. But I think that the fact that she can help you get an event to your hand per activation, I think getting an event to your hand is one of the most valuable things compared to the other types where they cause you to mill, just because of that big burst turn, right? You can get the I forgot the name of the card, but the leadership card, Blaze of Glory, right? So I mean, she can help get you whatever event that you really need to do your final big burst damage if you know that it's still left in your deck and there's not much other cards. Yeah, I think Gamora is a pretty good card. I don't think she is gonna be as good here as Colossus. Yeah, I mean she should be in the C tier because she is so situational. But at the same time, I have her above C because I think her effect kind of transcends those situations, and there are more situations where she is good. But at the same time, she's not going to be as good as just like stable allies that can be good all the time. Yeah, but her thing is a hero response, not a force response, so you don't have to trigger it. So at the end of the day, she could just be a 3-cost ally with 1 Thwart, 2 attack, and 3 hit points, which is still pretty good. Okay, so next we have Ghost Spider. Ooh, okay. So Ghost Spider is a 3-cost ally, 1 Thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Play only if you control a Web Warrior character, and we're assuming we're playing Web Warriors with her. Interrupt. When Ghost Spider leaves play, search your deck for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. Okay, Ghost Spider. Let me just go ahead and put her first here in the A tier. Actually, is she a... Okay, let's go over her a little bit. So I love Ghost Spider. Obviously, I'm biased because she's a Web Warrior, but I think that her ability is so good. So a lot of the Web Warriors, especially the basic ones, have synergy with leaving play, and that synergy connects with the Web of Life and Destiny, where every single time a Web Warrior ally leaves play, you can choose a player to draw a card, right? So she's leaving play. This interrupt activates first before the response of the Web of Life and Destiny. So if you are playing her, whenever she leaves play, you would search your deck for an identity-specific event first, get it to your hand, shuffle your deck, and then draw a card with the Web of Life and Destiny. So that is so good. She works so well with even non-Web Warriors, as long as you have the Web of Life and Destiny, because you need a Web Warrior card if you're going to be playing her. But I've used her so many times with Deadpool to get this card's fire or maximum effort, or even exhausting personality to draw a lot of cards for that ending burst turn. I've used her with Star-Lord to get his sliding shots. And then obviously if you're using her with the Web Warrior, right, like with Miles, you can get his big attack web shot. With Peter, you can get swinging web kick, right? Like she is just so good helping you get whatever event that you need. It's even more good late game, but it's good mid game as well. If you need a a backflip or any other identity specific event to help you kind of live a little bit. So I think that yeah, she is amazing. And then her stats. So she's a 3-cost ally. She has great stats for being 3 costs, right? Just a standard, like same as Gamora here. But this effect where she leaves play and it synergizes so well with Web of Life and Destiny. Oh man, I think I'm actually put her in S tier. I think she is so good, super duper valuable ally. And if I'm playing Web Warriors, I mean like a true tribal, like full Web Warrior deck, I think she's an auto include. If you're playing like deep into that Web Warrior archetype, then yeah, I think you must include her. She's so good. Yeah, I think she's a very, very good ally. Okay, so next we have Groot. He's a 3-cost ally with 1 Thwart, 2 attack. He takes 2 consequence damage for attack activations, and he has 6 hit points, which is insane. Play only if your identity has a Guardian trait, so we're going to assume that we're playing him with Guardians. Response after Groot defends against an attack, heal 2 damage from him. Heal 2 damage from him. So Groot is really, really good. I do love using him. He's one of the best defenders because I think 6 is that hit point threshold where he can actually effectively consistently take at least 1 attack from even the higher difficulty villains, as long as they don't get like multiple boosts or anything like that. 5 attack, I think they'll usually die, but 6 I think is a pretty good number. He can defend for you and then heal and defend against a minion and heal again, or if he can just always take a minion out, right? If he's just constantly defending against a minion, that minion will never ever hurt you. So I think Groot is a very, very good Guardian ally here. Let's put him. He's gonna go with the other Guardians. But I think if I'm playing Guardians and have empty roster spot, yeah, Groot is actually I like Groot a lot more. Um, and he is a little bit of a tempo hit because you're having him defend, but he can attack or thwart right away and still block out a minion and then recover if he's not taking enough damage to knock him out. So yeah, I play him countless times where he activates right when I play him and he's still blocking and surviving that. So I think I actually like Groot a lot. He's actually gonna go. If I'm playing guard, I actually like Groot more than Blade actually. So I don't think he's someone that I'm itching to include when I'm playing Guardians. But if you have an empty spot for Guardians here, Groot is an amazing card to put in. Um, yeah. Okay, so next we have Heimdall. He is a 5-cost ally, 2 Thor, 3 attack, but 2 consequential damage for attack activations, 4 hit points. So 5 costs is very, very steep for this type of stat line. I mean, obviously it's a good stat line, but for 5 cost, makes it not as good anymore. As a response, after Heimdall enters play, look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Discard one of them and put the others back in any order. So he has a great way to manipulate the encounter deck. Top 3 cards. So one really cool thing with him is that he's not really trait locked, right? So shield for a global logistics, you have to use a lot of shield cards to do that. You can include him kind of in any deck that you want, and he'll still give you that ability to look at the encounter deck. You can discard one, put the rest back in any order. 3 is not the highest, but just being a basic ally that you can include in any deck, I mean that's not terrible, but being 5 cost, and we can assume that we're playing him with Asgard, but I don't think Asgard right now has a really good way to get him out for very, very cheap. He's still going to be pretty expensive. You could call for backup for him, but I mean, it's a good effect, but for that cost, I think it's going to be situational at best. I'm going to put him, I'm actually going to put him last here in the C tier. I think Cannonball will have more uses with Aerial than Heimdall will. I really like his effect, but I just can't get over that cost for that effect. Yeah, I mean, and there's enough times where I look at the encounter deck, and then the top 3 cards are like not that bad at all, and I just put them back in the same order that I found them. So, I mean, it's not always gonna be good. It's obviously gonna be better against the hard difficulties, but I don't know, just being 5 costs, it's gonna be hard to get them down. Yeah. Okay. So next we have Hope Summers here, the basic ally. She's a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Hope Summers gains each trait on your identity. After you play Hope Summers from your hand, search your deck for a superpower card and add it to your hand. So she's cool because she can help tutor a superpower for you. Most mutants I think have a superpower, and a lot of non-mutants also have a superpower card. And then we're gonna be assuming that we're playing her, with a superpower hero, and then she gains each trait on your identity. So she basically meshes to whatever you need. But that's only whenever she's in play, right? So if you're having like someone tutor for her, like if it's like, oh, search your deck and discard pop for like a Wakanda card, she won't fit that requirement. She has to be in play. So Hope Summers, I think she seems very, very good, but at 4 costs, even though she refunds a card back to your hand, even if I have an empty roster spot, I am not actually looking to include her. I think that she needs to be very situational, but at the same time, I think that in the correct situations, she has the highest potential. So she can be an A tier ally in the perfect situation. So she's gonna go ahead of these guys. But at the same time, I just don't think that in any, I have to really, really deck build for her to make her good. And I think that's a lot of effort. And she's not just like, oh, I want to fill her in whenever I can, which is what the B tier is for. So she's gonna go first tier in the C tier for me because I think she's better than these guys. She's a very high potential, just yeah, just not the best if you're not maximizing her potential. Okay, next we have Ironheart. It's a 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points. Response: after you play Ironheart from your hand, draw 1 card. This is your awesome pseudo Maria Hill. And I mean, she goes straight to the S tier. Let's zoom in. So yeah, she goes straight to S tier here. I think she's gonna go above Ghost Spider. I mean, obviously, Ironheart's not as good as Maria Hill, right? She has one less thwart. Not every player draws a card, and the biggest distinction for me is that after you play from your hand, right? So if you call for a backup Ironheart, you won't get that effect. She has to be played from the hand to draw a card. But a lot of the times, I mean, she is. If you're just playing true solo and you're playing her from the hand, she is as valuable as Maria Hill. So she's still an S tier ally. I think that any deck where you just have an empty roster spot and you don't know what to put in and you want an ally, Ironheart will fit that. Just being a 2-cost ally and you draw a card. Just having that one thwart, one attack, and then being able to have her block for you while refunding a card back to your hand is so good. Super versatile. Works in every single deck, every single situation. Yeah, I think she's very, very good. One of the best basic allies here for sure. Next we have Lockjaw. He's a 4-cost ally. 2 thwart, 2 attack, 4 hit points. He takes 2 console damage for each activation. You may play Lockjaw from your discard pile during your turn, paying his resource cost. So Lockjaw is a very, very good ally. He's great in a lot of decks where you have a lot of resources and you don't necessarily want to hold cards in your hand, like Hulk, for example. And with his triple resources, and then his force response where you must discard his whole hand. And he's just a great all-around ally you can always include, especially if you need to summon someone because you're full of resources in your hand and you need someone to block for you. And having this stat line is very, very good because he can be played from discard pile, right? If he couldn't, this 4 cost would not be good with the stat line. But the fact that you don't actually need him in your hand, so that's one resource less. Like his actual card can be in the discard pile, and then you can use double resource when you're paying for him as well, right? Because you're just paying for his resource cost. So I think he's a very, very strong ally. He's not an ally that I'm itching to include, but he's actually going to go first here. I think he's kind of he kind of fits this B tier perfectly because it's if you have an empty roster spot, Lockjaw can easily fulfill it. Like you just put him in, you don't ever need to actually play him from your hand. But when he's in discard pile and you just have that situational use for him, then you can just bring him out and summon him. So yeah, I think he's a very, very good ally, definitely. Okay, so next we have Longshot. This guy's a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Play only if your identity has the X-Men trait. As a response, after Longshot attacks a non-elite minion, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If that card has a start icon in the boost area, defeat the attacked minion. Yeah, okay. So we're assuming that we're playing with the X-Men. I do not like him at all. His stat line is not terrible since he only takes 1 consequential damage, so he can activate 3 times. But 4 cost is super expensive for that. If it was 3 cost, he'd be very, very good with this stat line. But 4 cost is a little bit hefty. And this response, discard top card of the encounter deck if it has a star icon. So if I'm already paying 4 cost, I don't want to be making sure that I'm manipulating the encounter deck as well. And then it will just defeat the attacked minion. So I'm already attacking a minion. So I'm already using his activation. I'm taking consequential damage. And then I'm defeating the minion that I just attacked. Like when I'm attacking, I usually want to defeat them anyways. So this would only be really useful if he's attacking a super duper strong minion. And then like a minion that has like 10 hit points and it still has like 8 hit points left. And then use this effect, right? Because if it's a minion that has like 3 hit points, he attacks for 2, there's 1 hit point left and you kill it, like it's not that big of a deal. You really have to be fighting some strong minions, and the problem is most strong minions are elite. So after Longshot attacks a non-elite minion, his effect will only work against the weaker minions. So he is a pretty terrible ally. I'm actually going to put him, he's going to be our first D tier ally. I think that there's always going to be a better ally that can do his role a little better. Even in like the best perfect situations, he's not going to be that good. Yeah, he's going to be our first D tier basic ally. And I'm a little bit surprised here that a lot of the basic allies so far have not been very bad. I think they're just usually situational at worst, and a lot of them have been very, very good. Okay, so next we have Machine Man. 2 cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Man, he has an insane stat line. I don't know why he has such a good stat line with just having a positive effect. All right, so being 2 cost, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points is insane for 2 cost. Very, very good. And that's interrupt whenever Machine Man attacks or thwarts. Spend up to 3 resources of any type. Machine Man gets +1 thwart and +1 attack for each resource spent this way. So he can potentially thwart or attack for 4. And he gets 3 activations of that. Obviously, the more resources that you spend, the more of a what's that called? The more of a diminishing return that you get for him. But he's so versatile because he's so cheap. And then when you're spending those resources, it's usually going to be blank resources that you have extra in your hand, anyways, right? Or if you really need him to do like a major thor for one turn. So if you have him, yeah, I mean, if you have him activate once and just swing for four and take a chump block, like that is not bad, considering that these are dead resources anyways. So man, Machine Man is a very very good card. He, ooh, I don't know if I can put him in the A tier though. Uh, yeah, I think he actually still actually goes in the B tier, but I think first in the B tier. He's very close to A because the thing is, if I'm playing a basic deck and like if I'm playing mutants, I'm including Angel. If I'm playing Agent 13, I'm including, or if I'm playing Shield, I'm including Agent 13. If I'm playing X-Men or X-Force, I'm including Forge. But I'm not necessarily including Machine Man in everything. He's, yeah, I think that it depends what deck you have him in, right? Just his stat line is not going to carry him alone, even though it's already very, very good. But you need to have a deck to where you have those resources ready for him. And in a deck where you're always struggling on resources, I don't think he will be as good. But I do really like him a lot. But I'm gonna put him as a B tier. I think he's a great fill-in for an empty roster spot. Just not a card that I'm always trying to include, I guess. Okay, so next we have Martin X. He's a 3-cost ally, 1 Thor, 1 attack, 4 hit points. Reduce the cost to play Martin X by 1 if your identity has a Guardian trait. So very similar to Angel here. So yeah, Martin X is very, very good. So he's effectively a 2-cost ally if you're a Guardian, and we're going to be soon that we're playing him with Guardians. So 2 costs for 1 Thor, 1 attack, and 4 hit points. Yeah, I mean, he can take a chump block and survive, let's say, like, I don't know, 50% of the time. So, I mean, even if he doesn't survive, that is fine. I'm going to put him, he's very similar to Angel for me. If I'm playing Guardians, if I'm playing a Guardians deck, he is someone that I'm usually trying to include, right? He is just a staple ally for Guardians that can help be a good spot in your deck and just be a 2-cost ally for you to thwart or attack and then have him block. Yeah, I think Martin X is a very staple card for Guardians. I think he's a very good ally. He's being 2 cost. I think I might be overrating actually these 2-cost cards right here. I would definitely reevaluate this after we're done with the list, but yeah, we'll see if I'm overrating this 2 cost. And if you guys think I am, just let me know, because I kind of feel like I am right now, but we'll see at the end. Okay, so next we have Mockingbird. She came in the core box. 3-cost card. 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Response after Mockingbird enters play, stun enemy. Super duper good effect. Very staple key card. Even though I don't like statuses, she does great for what she needs to do. Her sideline's not great for being a 3-cost card, but getting that stun with just playing an ally, she works so well in stun type decks where and against villains that can be stunned. So I think she's gonna go. Is she an A tier ally? I don't think she's an A tier. Just my personal feeling is that I usually don't use her that often. I actually barely include her because I don't play with stun or confuse. Just because study and stalwart, if she's my only stunner, it doesn't really help out. So I'm gonna put her in the B tier. I don't think she's as good as Machine Man, being able to just do a lot. But yeah, I would say she's better than Lockjaw. Like that stun is very, very valuable and very, very cheap while also having an ally. So I think she's a great card. I just don't think that. I think she fills in an empty roster spot. I think that's what she does best, just filling in an empty spot that you need. She's not necessarily a core card that you want in your deck like the A tiers. Okay, so next we have Moon Girl. She's a 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack. She takes 2 consequential damage for each activation, 3 hit points. Play only if your identity has the champion or genius trait. As a response, after you play Moon Girl from your hand, so it must be from your hand only, draw 1 card for each mental resource used to pay for her. So if you guys watch my Spider-Man videos, man, I love Moon Girl. I think Moon Girl is one of the best allies in the game. Shoutouts to Get Up in Game. I know this is his favorite card. Um, yeah, Moon Girl is super duper powerful. And we're gonna assume that we're playing her with champion or genius. So yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. If you're playing with her if you're playing a champion or a genius character, she I think is an auto include. But where does she go amongst? I think she's actually gonna go above Ironheart, right? Because if you're playing champion or genius, you are putting Moon Girl in your deck above Ironheart. You do need to have mental resources, but even if you don't necessarily build a deck for mental resources, I think it's fine if you have like a balance, right? If you have 13 mental resources in your deck, I mean, that's still enough because you might have some wilds as well. I mean, she's just a great ally. Even if you're drawing, so for 3 costs, if you're drawing 1 card back, like she's still not terrible. Drawing 2 cards back, it's amazing. Drawing 3 cards back, which is what you usually want to do when you're playing her. I mean, yeah, she is definitely an S tier ally, and I like her above Ironheart because for her role for champions and geniuses, I think she's an auto include. Okay, so next we have Nick Fury. He's a 4 cost ally, 2 Thor, 2 attack, 3 hit points. So he came in a core set. Your most stand-up ally here. Force interrupt, so you must trigger it. After Nick Fury enters play, choose one, remove 2 threat from his scheme, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage to an enemy. At the end of the round, if Nick Fury is still in play, discard him. So this, if Nick Fury is still in play, discard him. This doesn't really matter at all because you can just have him chump block and he gets the fullness of his effect. Um, if you're an Ultra Eagle, I usually have him take indirect damage somehow, right? If it's like Venom Goblin, make sure it's on the glider count with the main scheme where I take indirect damage. He can also take indirect damage. Yeah, he's very, very good. I usually 90% of the time use his effect to draw 3 cards. I don't think I've ever used the one to remove 2 threat from the scheme, but I very often also use the do 4 damage for your final big burst turn or just to get rid of a minion. I think the only trap with him is if you play him, you don't have any cards in your hand. Drawing 3 cards might not be able to allow you to play anything, but usually you want to plan around that and have at least 1 card that you want to play from your hand. So Nick Fury, even though he's very expensive, he refunds it all by drawing 3. And I think he is actually the best card in the game. So I'm gonna put Nick Fury here in my S tier above Moon Girl, and Nick Fury kind of transcends almost anything. I think him in Avengers Mansion might be the 2 cards that I include the most when I'm playing Marvel Champions. And Nick Fury is just so good. I include him in decks that are only Avengers. I include him in decks that are only X Force, right? It doesn't matter because he only stays in play for one round anyways. So it's not like he's gonna hurt your archetype. He just fits in every single situation. Drawing 3 cards, he's more versatile than Moon Girl just because you don't need those mental resources to pay for him, even though he's 1 cost more. But yeah, Nick Fury, I mean, he comes in crazy. He's got a big Thor or attack with a 2, which is very good, and then he'll just die free. So I think Nick Fury is one of the best cards in the game, if not the best card. So he's gonna go number 1 here in the S tier. Okay, so next we have Pete Wisdom. It's a 4 cost ally, 3 Thor, takes 2 consequential damage for Thor activations, 1 attack. I mean 2 attack, and 1 consequential damage for attacking. He has 3 hit points. Play only your identity has an X Force trait, so we assume that we're playing him with X Force. Response after you resolve the 1 reviewed effects of a treachery card, heal 1 damage from Pete Wisdom. So he doesn't cancel it. You still have to resolve it, and he just heals 1 damage. So I think that is not a very good effect because he basically kind of wants you to Voltron him, right? You can't really control if you're revealing 1 reviewed effects of treachery cards or not, right? You don't know the next encounter card is going to be treachery. So he's a Voltron, but you can't guarantee that he will be able to recover himself. And then being 4 cost is super hefty. If he thwarts twice, he's kind of dead. The 3 thwart is very high, but yeah, I don't like that he's 4 cost, and I don't think his ability is very good. He's actually gonna go here in the D tier for me. I think that even in the perfect situation, there are way more better Voltron candidates. And if he is your guy, if you want to Voltron him, you're basically relying on himself to help you recover him and keep him in play. And I think that to constantly manipulate the encounter deck to make sure that you get a treachery to recover him is way too much work, and that will hurt your overall deck and gameplay overall trying to do that. So I think he's not even a situational ally. He's not very good. Do I like him more than Longshot? They actually are kind of similar to me in their effects. Would I play Longshot or would I play Pete Wisdom? I think I will play Pete Wisdom more, even though I wouldn't play either of them, just because he can come in and throw for three and take a chump block, I guess. And Longshot, I mean, this effect, I mean, there has to be a minion in play and it can't be non-elite. It's just, yeah, I think I would take Pete Wisdom over Longshot. Okay, so next we have Professor X. It's a 3 cost ally, 3 thwart, 0 attack, 3 hit points. Force response, so you must trigger it. After Professor X enters play, choose one. Confuse a villain, stun a minion, or ready an X-Men character. So very, very different effects, right? You either confuse a villain, stun a minion, or ready an X-Men character. So you could be any X-Men character, even an ally. At the end of the round, if Professor X is still in play, discard him. So he's very similar to Nick Fury, but I don't think he's nearly as good. Once again, I'm not the biggest fan of statuses, right? Professor X is not going to be as good against villains with steady and stalwart, especially if he's your only source of confusion for steady villains. And then he can stun a minion. I don't care that much about stunning a minion. I think his best effect is going to be, or his most steady effect, I guess, is going to be readying an X-Men character. So we're going to be assuming that we're playing him with X-Men. He's definitely good. Giving you that ready and thwarting for 3 is very, very big. 3 is a big thwarting stat line. So I think if I'm playing X-Men, he definitely goes up here in the A tier. I think Forge is better. I should think Agent 13 is better, but I think Professor X is definitely better than these guys here just because he has a powerful effect. These guys just help reduce their cost. And the more I'm looking at, the more I do want to bump them down, but we'll see what happens at the end of this list. But yeah, Professor X, I don't think he's as key for X-Men characters as Agent 13 is for SHIELD characters. I think her effect is a lot better for SHIELD than Professor X is for X-Men, right? Getting that ready whenever you play him is very good, but it's really only going to be better in X-Men characters that have good stats that want to be readied for specific things. And then, I mean, he is versatile at the same time, but Stun a Minion is, not as useful. Confusing the villain would be great, but at the same time, I'm trying to consider his situation for villains that can't be confused. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he's definitely not bad. He's an A tier ally at best. I mean, he's an A tier ally, so that's still solid, but I think I would rather include, even if I'm playing an X-Men deck, I'd rather include Forge to help me get that support to my hand early game than have Professor X. Okay, so next we have Rocket Raccoon. This is a 3 cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. So we're going to be assuming that we're playing him with Guardians. Interrupt when Rocket Raccoon attacks a minion, he gets +3 attack for that attack. The attack gains overkill. So he's hitting for 4 for just 3 costs when he's attacking minions. Yeah, Rocket Raccoon is an amazing ally, primarily because of his 2 thwart, right? This interrupt is a little bit situation because it has to be attacking minions, so it has to be minions in play. He's kind of the opposite of Drax, right? Where Drax here cannot attack minions, and he has 3 attack for only attacking the villain. Rocket Raccoon here has 1 attack, but he can attack the villain if you need him to. But he has +3 for minions, so he's a great minion clearer. But the fact that he has 2 thwart, right, for 3 costs and having the 2 thwart is already really, really good. So I think he's a lot more versatile than Drax is. And I think if I'm playing Guardians, if I'm playing Guardians, Rocket Raccoon, yeah, he's someone that I'm itching to include. I think that having that 2 thwart, he helps you thwart very, very big, and he helps you control the board early game and mid game of minions, and has overkill too. You'll be able to swing for 4 at a minion and be able to thwart for 2. That's an amazing stat line for Guardian. I don't think he's as good as Professor X, just because that readying is still very, very good, and being able to confuse the villain, although situation is still good as well. But yeah, I think Rocket Raccoon is definitely an ally I'm itching to include if I'm playing some Guardians. Okay, so next we have Scarlet Spider here. He is a 4 cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 4 hit points. So very expensive. Attack and thwart are not that good for his cost, but he does have a lot of hit points. Play only if you control a web warrior card, and he is a web warrior. So that is, we're going to be assuming that we're playing him with web warriors. Interrupt. When you would review an encounter card, name a card type, then look at that card. If that card is of the name type, deal 1 damage to Scarlet Spider and draw 1 card. So his effect, so good if you are revealing an encounter card with your own card effects, right? Like with, I've seen Descry use, what's it called, One Way or Another, and then Scarlet Spider you know what the card type is going to be. It's going to be a side scheme with one way or another. So then you can just call it, and then he takes the damage and he helps you draw a card. He doesn't exhaust too, so you can do it multiple times. You can't play one way or another multiple times per turn because it's only limited to once per turn. But you can use his effect multiple times if you're revealing a lot of card types. So I think he's a very situational ally. He's going to go in the C tier here. Just a very situational card. I'm putting him behind Hope Summers because I don't think his max potential is as high as hers, but he definitely has more potential than these guys here because he can be very, very good, helping you draw tons of cards, helping you draw up to 4 cards here, refining his cost. Yeah, I think he's definitely a good ally, but you need to really build specifically around him in order to make him work. So he's usually not going to be an inclusion if I'm playing Web Wars. I have to build a deck specifically around him. Okay, so next we have Snow Guard. This is a 4-cost ally, 0 thwart, 0 attack, 3 hit points. And as a response, after Snow Guard enters play, place up to 3 shift counters on her. When the shift counters here, while the shift counters here are equal to X, she gets a certain effect. So if you choose to put 1, she has 3 attack and her attacks have overkill. So 4-cost ally for 3 attack, no thwart. I mean, that's not bad because you can choose the situation, right, that you need that. If you put 2 shift counters, she has plus 3 thwart and she gains the aerial trait. And if you choose 3 shift counters, she has 5 hit points and has retaliate 1. So if you give her 5 hit points and retaliate 1, I think that is pretty bad. If she comes in for 3 thwart with 4 cost, I mean, that's not the best. And if she comes in with 3 attack for 4 cost, it's not the best. So I think the way that I'm thinking about it is not the best way to think about her. The best way to think about her is her situational uses, where you can choose any one of the 3. And you're probably choosing either a 1 or 2 for either 3 thwart or 3 attack. So coming in for 4 cost to be able to swing for 3 or thwart for 3 is good because you can choose a situation. Yeah, but at the same time, I think I'm going to put her as a situational ally. I don't think that if I have an empty roster spot that she will make that fill. I don't think that she's like just, oh, I have an empty roster spot, let me put her in. She's more of like, in a specific situation, she can be very, very good. But even then, her cost is very, very high for that situation. It's just that if I build that situation, yeah, I mean, I don't think that she's the best ally just because, yeah, just being 4 costs for that effect is not going to be the most beneficial thing. If she was 3 costs, I think she would definitely be very, very good. But 4 costs makes her a little bit harder to justify putting in B tier. Okay, so next we have SPDR. This is a 2-cost ally. 2 thwart, but she takes 2 consequential damage for thwart activations, and she only has 2 hit points, so she dies if she does that. 1 attack, and then 2 hit points. Play only if you control a Web Warrior card. When defeated, add SPDR to your hand. If she was defeated, taking excess consequential damage. So the only way for her to take excess consequential damage is with her thwarting activation if she has 1 hit point left. So when you play her, you generally want her to attack for 1 first, and the next turn she can thwart for 2. I think SPDR is a B tier ally. So we're going to be assuming that we're playing her with Web Wars. I'm going to put her above Mockingbird and behind Machine Man. So SPDR is actually one of my favorite cards in the game. I think she's very, very fun to use, and you can recycle her with the Web of Life and Destiny combo and get like limitless uses out of her, right? Because she's constantly coming back to your hand. You play her back down, swing for 1, and then she can throw for 2 the next turn, come back to your hand again, right? So she's super duper good, being able to effectively. So if she's in play already with 1 damage, she can throw for 2, come back to your hand. You draw a card with the Web of Life Destiny. You play her back down, and she swings again for 1. The thing with her, the only reason I don't have her any higher is that she's very, very slow, and her tempo is not really good unless you're already built out, right? If you are in a desperate situation and you're close to dying or anything like that, she's not going to save you. But at the same time, she is just a 2-cost ally that you can just play and have her attack and then chump block, right? So because of that, but now that I'm saying it like that, I feel like that is pretty good. But the fact that I'm putting her here, is she an A tier with Web Warriors? No, yeah, I think that the fact that she is just a 2-cost ally, you can just play her down, have her attack and then chump block. And then if the situation arises, then you can constantly recycle her and draw cards with the Web of Life and Destiny. I think the synergy, because of the Web of Life and Destiny, her synergy is very, very good. So I'm actually gonna put her in the A tier. And I'm gonna put her last because I just decided that because of this reasoning for this, I have to put Angel and Martinex down in the B tier. And I think Machine Man. Okay, let's put him behind Machine Man. Because even though if I'm playing Guardians or if I am playing Mutants, I do want to include these guys. But seeing here, there's better like X-Men. If you're playing X-Men or X-Force, which are usually mutants, Forge is a lot better for 2 costs than a Martinex is, or not Martinex, Angel, I mean, because they're for the mutants here. And then Martinex is not as good as Rocket Raccoon, even though Rocket Raccoon is a little more expensive. Yeah, even though for me personally, I pretty much always include Angel and Martinex if I'm playing Guardians for Martinex and Mutants for Angel. I don't think that justifies putting him in A tier because their effects are just not as good as a lot of more unique effects. Yeah, so I think there are more fill-in spots. And I think they go behind Machine Man just because he's also 2 cost and he has a great effect too. Um, yeah, and especially Martinex. I'm not sure why. I think it was a little weird that I had Martinex above Machine Man. I think there's just too many allies. And I'm kind of getting confused with myself here because, yeah, just if we just look at the stat lines for 2 cost Martinex, it's the same Machine Man with just 1 more hit point, and Machine Man can actually do so much more. So yeah, I think this I like this a lot more, and I still like them above Mockingbird just because being 2 cost, I still value that a lot. Um, and the Mockingbird stun, it is very good, but I don't use it that often. So yeah, I think this I like this lineup a lot more than what I had before here. I think these guys for A tier make a lot more sense, and especially having Angel and Martinex behind Machine Man. Yeah. Okay. So next we have Spider Ham. He's a 3 cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Play only if you control a Web Warrior card, so we're assuming that we're playing him with Web Warriors. Force response, so you must trigger it. After Spider Ham attacks or thwarts, discard the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon discarded this way, deal 1 damage to Spider Ham. So he reminds me of a lot of other allies where discarding, he reminds me of Havoc actually. So after he attacks or thwarts, discard top card of the encounter deck for each boost icon. Yeah, he's like Havoc, except he doesn't get that boost for that attack activation. So for Havoc, when you discard that card, he gets plus more attack for whatever that is. So if you discard a 3 boost, Havoc swinging for 2 plus 3 is going to be 5 while he takes 3 damage and dies. Spireham just takes the 3 damage and dies. But at the same time, if you get 0 boost, he's like pretty much a Voltron candidate, right? Well, he's not because you can't guarantee that boost, but I mean, he can thwart or attack and not take unscorched damage. He's cheaper than Havoc, so he's not as bad, but at the same time, man, he is pretty. I don't think. So, if you're playing Web Warriors, I've thought about including him just because there wasn't enough Web Warriors in the deck. I'm looking for more, but I don't know if he's even situational. Being 3 costs, you can play him, have him thwart or attack. I think just because he's a Web Warrior, he's not going to go in the D tier. Yeah, I'm going to put him last in the C tier here. Because he's a Web Warrior, he has synergy with the Web Life and Destiny. So even if he dies right away, you can still draw a card with the Web Life and Destiny because he's a Web Warrior. And we're assuming that we're playing him, with Web Warriors. So I think he has synergy with his archetype, which is why he's not going to be absolutely terrible in the D tier. But at the same time, yeah, he's not very good at all, especially by himself. So he's going to go last here in the C tier. There's very few situations where he is good. And if you do, and his max potential is not very high. So he's going to go last here. Okay, next we have Spider-Man Hobie Brown. This is a 3 cost ally, 2 thwart, but he takes 2 consequent damage for thwart activations, 1 attack, and he has 3 hit points. So he can do 2 thwart activations and before he's defeated, or he can attack for 3 times, or any combination of the 2 activations. Play only if you control a Web Warrior card. Interrupt when Spider-Man leaves play. Discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Deal damage to the villain equal to the number of boost icons discarded this way. So yeah, he is very, very good, especially for Web Warriors. He has that synergy where he has intro whenever he leaves play. So this would trigger first, and then you draw a card with the Web of Life and Destiny. If I'm playing a Web Warrior full deck. Like if I'm playing a Web Warrior hero, he is definitely an ally that I'm always trying to include. Um, I don't think he's as good as Rocket Raccoon. They're very similar stats. Um, for him, the only thing that will make him better is because you draw a card with the Web of Life and Destiny. But I don't think that's enough to get Rocket's Raccoons to balance out for Rocket Raccoon's +3 attack and overkill at minions. I think that's a very, very powerful effect. So Hobie Brown, I think, is a very, very good. He's an A tier ally. If I'm playing Web Warriors, I mean, like a Web Warrior hero, then I definitely got to put him in. If I'm playing just the Web of Life and Destiny and not necessarily a Web Warrior deck, he might not go in there, but I mean, for all Web Warriors, he's definitely in there. Okay. So next we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. He is a 3-cost ally, 1 Thor, 2 attack, 3 hit points. I believe he came in the Wasp hero pack, so because of that, the Web Warrior trait was not introduced yet, so he's just a champion, not actually a Web Warrior. As a response, after you play Spider-Man from your hand, choose Thor or attack. Spider-Man gets +2 to your chosen power until the end of phase. So he reminds me a little bit of Vision, but a lot better because he just has very, very high tempo, right? He's 1 cost less than Vision, right? The Vision ally from Leadership is 4 cost. He has 1 Thor, 2 attack, same style line as Vision, and he gets 2 to chosen power at the end of phase without spending a resource. So that is just so good. He comes in, he can either Thor for 3 or attack for 4 at 3 cost, which is amazing, and it just take a chump block, or attack or Thor the next turn. So he is so powerful. If he was a Web Warrior, I think he would be even more good, but even without being Web Warrior, he's still in the A tier. And I'm gonna put him actually above Rocket Raccoon and behind Professor X. So he can go in any deck, obviously. Rocket Raccoon is only for Guardians, but we're not counting that against him. But Spider-Man can come in here for 3 Thor or 4 attack right away. Rocket Raccoon has 2 Thor and 4 attack for attacking minions. So that tempo with Spider-Man Miles Morales is a lot better. And then after that, I mean, he's not as good as Rocket on turn 2, but that turn 1 burst, I think, puts him just a little bit above Rocket. And yeah, I think he's a better ally than Rocket Raccoon. Okay, next we have 2-cost allies, Spider-Man Auto Octavius. A lot of Spider-Man here. He's 1 Thor, 2 attack, but he takes 2 consequent damage for attack activations at 2 cost. So he'll die if he attacks. Play only if you control a Web Warrior card, assuming that we're playing him with Web Warriors. Response, after you play Spider-Man from your hand ready and upgrade you control, if that upgrade has a tech trait, draw a card. So he works very well with Spider-Man Peter Parker and Spider-Man Miles Morales because they have web shooters there. So you can just ready up their tech upgrades. And then you can spend the web shooters to get another resource as well. And you can draw a card. Even without tech upgrades, you can ready up any upgrade. So that's very valuable as well. I'm going to put him, if I'm playing a Web Warrior, I'm not itching to include him. So he's actually going to go in the B tier here. I'm going to put him above Machine Man because we're assuming that we're playing Web Warriors with him. I think that if I have an empty spot, he easily jumps in that empty spot. It's just that he's not going to make it like I really, really want to include him or anything like that. Being 2 cost is great. Yeah, being at the door for 1 and attack next turn is great as well. He can just attack and it actually get you another card draw with the Web of Life and Destiny as well. So yeah, he's very good synergy with the Web Warrior card, and he's a very good card overall. But I don't think he makes it in the A tier here. He's just a great fill-in for any empty roster spot in a Web Warrior deck. Okay, next we have Spider-Man Peter Parker, the OG. He has 3 attack, 3 cost, 2 Thor, and 2 attack with 3 hit points. Requirement is an energy, mental, and physical resource. So when you're paying for him, you have to spend one of each resource type, but you can use wilds to fulfill those requirements. As a response, after Spider-Man attacks or thwarts, choose another Web Warrior character, ready that character. So that is an amazingly powerful card, an amazingly powerful effect, I mean. He's constantly readying up your hero, most likely if your hero is that Web Warrior. And even in non-Web Warrior decks that I'm using Web Warriors, that I'm playing Web Warriors, like with Deadpool or Star-Lord, I'm still using Peter Parker to ready up Ghost Spider here, because that helps Ghost Spider get defeated, so then she can tutor a card back into your hand. But we are assuming that with this tier list, we're assuming that we are playing him with a Web Warrior hero as well. So if he's readying up your hero, he can also ready up a Web Warrior ally like Ghost Spider or Hobie Brown to get them defeated to draw a card for that big burst momentum turn. He is so good. His requirement is not that bad because you can cross Spider-Verse him, you can coffer backup him, and I played him multiple times just straight up here with this energy, mental and physical. And one thing to note with him is that you don't have to control Web Warrior card to play him, even though we are assuming that we're playing him with Web Warriors because of his effect. So I think Peter Parker is an amazing ally. He's definitely either A tier or S tier. Um, I think if you're playing Web Warriors, if your hero is a Web Warrior, he's an all include. I don't think he's as good as Ghost Spider. So, uh, I mean, it's really hard to justify. So hear me out. For Peter Parker, he is good. I think for at face value, he's very very strong. But Ghost Spider's effect to trigger that specific identity specific event, I find that so valuable in any situation because you get exactly what you need, right? If she dies, it takes a chump block during the villain phase, and you know the villain's gonna activate again, you can get like a backflip or a defensive event. If it's during the end game, which is where I usually need her, she can help you get maximum effort for Deadpool, right? Big swing web kick for Peter Parker if you're playing her outside of the Web Warriors, right? Because Peter Parker isn't a Web Warrior card, but we are assuming, I keep on saying this, we are assuming that we are playing her in a Web Warrior deck, which is even better. Yeah, for Miles, you can get him like a web shot. So I actually have Ghost Spider above Peter Parker, just because Peter Parker does not necessarily synergize with the Web of Life of Destiny because he doesn't want to leave play. He wants to stay there forever, and he wants to constantly activate so he can ready up your hero or another ally. Versus Ghost Spider, because we're assuming that we're playing them both with Web Warriors, she works so well with the Web of Life of Destiny, helping you get that huge tempo, getting the card 2 cards to your hand effectively with the Web of Life of Destiny because she tutors an event, and the Web of Life of Destiny helps you draw a card after she leaves play. So I think Ghost Spider just edges out Peter Parker Spider-Man. Even though I really like them both, I think Ghost Spider is a little bit better here in the S tier. But I think they both must be included. If your hero is a Web Warrior, you are including both of them. They're both very good cards. Okay, so next we have Star-Lord, Peter Quill here. 2 cost ally, very cheap. 2 Thor, 2 attack, and 3 hit points. Star-Lord's attack gain range, so no retaliate is going to do damage to him. As a force response, so you must trigger after Star-Lord enters play under your control, do yourself a face-down encounter card. So that is a bad effect. But at the same time, he's a 2 cost ally, 2 Thor, 2 attack. But thing is, all he's going to do is either Thor or attack for 2 and then just defend, right, and chump block. So taking that encounter card, if that encounter card is another villain activation where they're attacking you, then he negates himself. But then you still need to block for when the villain activates against you normally. So yeah, this encounter card, it can be so many things, and depending on what it is, especially on the higher difficulties, Star-Lord can be very, very detrimental. I think that if you really have an empty spot and you have nothing else to put there, he can fill in. No, I can't justify putting him. I really like Star-Lord, but I can't justify putting him in there because he's situational. He's a situational ally. I'm gonna put him. Ooh, I'm actually gonna put him over here. Yeah, in front of Spider-Ham and behind Heimdall. Because in a perfect situation where you're playing like a very weak villain like a Rhino or something like that, then yes, getting that extra counter card isn't that bad as Star-Lord. Or isn't as bad playing him. But if you're playing any of the hard difficulties like Ronin or Venom Goblin, every encounter card is very, very rough. And getting dealt 1 extra 1 could be game ending or game changing. So it really depends. He's very situational. And I generally play against the more difficult villains. So I would never ever use Starlight. I just don't think that he's going to be very good if the villain has tough encounter cards. All right, so next we have Storm. She's a 5 cost ally, super expensive. 2 Thor, 2 attack, and 3 hit points. Reduce the cost to play Storm by 1 if your identity has immune or X-Men trait. So we're assuming that we do have that trait. So she is a 4 cost ally effectively. Interrupt whenever Storm thwarts a scheme. Move 2 threat from that scheme to another scheme. So she can thwart for 2, and as interrupt whenever she thwarts. So that happens before she thwarts for 2. You can move 2 threat to another scheme and then still thwart for 2. So she's effectively removing 4 threat from a scheme, but the other 2 will go somewhere else. So if you have player side schemes with her, then obviously she's very, very good. You can just put them all on a player side scheme and play another player side scheme, which will discard any player side scheme that you want, the one with a bunch of threat on it. And then you can also play her against specific scenarios, like I think Project Wide Awake. there's the Project Wide Awake has this side scheme that just stays in play and doesn't matter if there's any threat on it. So she can just constantly move threat to that side scheme, and you don't get anything bad out of it. It's not a force interrupt, so you don't have to trigger it if you don't want to. I played one of my friends played her in multiplayer, and she was doing so much threat removal with Storm. So I think that Storm is definitely not bad, but she's too expensive at 4 cost to justify putting her in an empty roster spot. But in a good situation, I think that she is very, very good, right? Like she removed like over like 12 threat because she had more training upgrades on her as well, just increasing her hit points. So Storm was taking off so much threat. It was against what's his name, Mr. Sinister. So Mr. Sinister's schemes are insane, and Storm was literally carrying us through that entire game. So I think that's the situation where Storm can like be very, very good, but she's gonna go in C tier because those situations are very abnormal, and you really have to plan for that for Storm to be very, very good and to maximize her full potential. But she can be an amazing ally. It's just not every situation. Okay, so next we have Venom, Eddie Brock. He has 4 cost, 2 Thor, 3 attack, 6 hit points, which is insane. As a response, after you review an encounter card, deal 1 damage to Venom, do damage to an enemy equal to number of icons in that card's boost area. So you don't have to trigger this if you don't want to, and he does not get exhausted if you trigger this effect. So all of this, he's amazing, except he does have this hazard icon here. So you get an extra encounter card every single turn. But the extra encounter with him is a little bit different than it is with Star-Lord. And I don't think it is nearly as bad because you usually want to play Venom whenever you're ready to end the game, right? And then if the villain has like 3 encounter cards, they can kill themselves. You just review all the encounter cards and then have Venom do like up to, I don't know, up to 9 or 10 damage, right? There's that many star and boost icons, especially against the higher difficulty villains. So Venom can be so good. He can come in on your last turn, swing for 3, and then hopefully try to do 5 to 10 damage during the villain phase. The thing is, it is a little bit luck based. So I think because of that luck base, he's going to go in the C tier. But I think that if you build your deck around him, planning for him for that final burst turn, he can be so powerful. But at the same time, he's a very situational ally. You need to plan for it for him to be good. You can't just include it in any empty roster spot and just hope that he'll work out. You need to make sure that, but his stat line is well worth that 4 cost. I feel like I don't say that a lot, but being 4 cost is great where you have 2 Thor, 3 attack, and 6 hit points and taking 1 consequential damage for each activation. And this effect is really good as well. It's just that hazard icon that holds him back here. But I mean, it can definitely be nullified in the correct situation. Okay, so next we have Vivian. She is a 2 cost ally with 2 Thwart, but she takes 2 consequential damage for Thwart activation, so she will be defeated if she thwarts, because she has 2 hit points and 1 attack. Hero response, so you must use in hero form. You have to play her in hero form to get this. After Vivian enters play, choose an attachment, non-elite minion, or non-permanent side scheme. Until the end of the round, treat that card's printed text box as if it were blank except for traits. So she is very, very good. I've seen so many players block out powerful effects with her effect. She can just nullify an attachment like the Infinity Gauntlet or anything like that. So she can block a side scheme that's a non-permanent one, a non-elite minion. So blocking out a permanent attachment is probably going to be the best thing because all the other things has to be non-elite and non-permanent for the side schemes. But I mean, she'll give you a good breather for 1 round, which is pretty decent. I think she's gonna go in the B tier for me. I'm gonna put her first in the B tier. She has a very strong effect. She's only 2 cost. She's very, very high tempo, right? So you get a lot of benefit when you play her, but not much afterwards, right? So you play her and then that 1 round she can block something out. You can constantly recur her to keep blocking that thing out over and over again, right? Like if you play a call for backup for her at every single turn, that you can just constantly just negate that Infinity Gauntlet so it doesn't activate. She's a very good ally at 2 cost. She can ping off a tough with her attack right here. I think she's a great ally, but she'll just fill an empty roster spot for me. I'm not itching to put her in my deck or anything like that. Okay, so next we have War Machine. He is a 4 cost ally, 2 Thwart, 2 attack with 3 hit points, and he comes in with toughness here. And then War Machine's basic attack gains range, so he knows retaliate there, which is pretty good. Let's let's see. He comes in with toughness, but he's 4 cost. Yikes. Okay. I I think that he definitely goes into B tier. If you have an empty roster spot for him, he is not bad. Um, I would actually probably put Cosmo before War Machine here, just being that 2 cost ally, because 4 cost, he has a decent stat line. It's not terrible. It would be really good if it was 3 cost, but a little bit not as good at 4 cost. The toughness is great. Yeah, but he's just, the toughness means he's lower tempo, because if you want him to block with the toughness, then he's not activating that turn, because he'll take consequential damage and lose the toughness, right? So yeah, I'm gonna put him last in the B tier. I don't think that he's as bad as these allies where he needs the perfect situation. He can be good in lost situations, but yeah, he's just an include in the deck if you have an empty roster spot, not anything more than that. Okay, so for our last basic ally, we have White Fox here. She is 3 cost, 1 attack, 1 thwart. 1 thwart, 1 attack, I mean. So it's not very good with 3 hit points. So it's decent or a little bit below the curve for a 3 cost ally. As a response, after White Fox is this card from the top of your deck, put her into play under your control. So if you're playing Domino, where she comes in, or you're playing anything that's milling the deck, right? Like Iron Man, where his Repulsor Blast, she's an energy resource, so she can count for that. And then she comes into play as well. That's so good. And then with his Futurist ability, she gets this card from top of deck, so you can put it into play. I think that she is a good ally. Okay, I'm gonna put in A tier because only for the fact that I'm considering that when we're playing her in a deck that has that, right? In a deck where you are milling a lot. So for any deck where you're milling, I think she's an A tier ally. So it's a little bit situational. Maybe my categories for the tier list aren't that good. But yeah, I mean, she's a little bit situational, but we're assuming that we're playing her with that type of archetype, right? That milling deck archetype. Yeah, so I think for these guys, they don't really work in a specific archetype. They're situational in a way where it it just works or it doesn't, right? For other allies above them, we're assuming that they're playing a specific archetype and they're good for that archetype. And White Fox getting a free ally is amazing. If you ever do pay for her, it's not really worth it, but it's not terrible if you have a dead hand and you have a 3 cost ally here. It's not the worst thing to have the ally to be able to block for you, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna get the most bang for your buck, especially if you discard her from top of your deck. And she is very, very good if you do that. Yeah, I think even if you're playing a discarding deck, she's better than. Yeah, I'm gonna put her above Rocket Raccoon, right? I think if you're playing a discarding archetype, you want her more than Rocket Raccoon for Guardians or any of these other cards. But at the same time, getting her is great. Oh no, I'm not gonna put her here actually because I'm gonna put her above SPDR. Getting her is great, right? She's very, very good, but she is low tempo. So even if you do get her into play, all she's doing is throwing for 1, attacking for 1, and helping you block, right? These guys can come in and do a lot, right? Rocket Raccoon can bust up a minion for you with 4 attack. Hobie Brown can thwart for 2, which is a big thwart. Then he can also get defeated, synergize with the Web Warriors. So similar to SPDR, she's kind of lower tempo. She's not going to help you immediately, but she is great to get out, and it's amazing to play her for free. Okay, so this is my tier list for S tier. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys agree or disagree with anything on this list, and definitely share your top allies in this aspect with me. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.